Venezuelan gangs are taking over certain apartment complexes, and also the cars are being shot up. So it looks like they're going to be taking over an entire neighborhood because, as you can imagine, the businesses, they'll have to leave. And as businesses leave, there's no one paying the property taxes. And then the homeowners that are left, their property taxes will skyrocket to make up for the missing money, tax-paying money. And then they'll eventually be priced out of their homes. So this video coming up is a Venezuelan gang taking over an apartment.
Surveillance video appears to show potential gang violence at an apartment complex. This is happening in the suburb of Aurora, Colorado. These men captured on video using weapons to forcefully break into at least one apartment. Vicente Arenas from News Nation's Denver affiliate has more.
The video shows a group walking up a stairwell earlier this month at an apartment complex in Aurora. The Edge at Lowry is located at East 12th Avenue and Dallas Street. All but one of the people appear to be carrying either a long gun or a handgun. They then enter a unit. Another clip shows two men forcing their way into that same unit. The couple that provided the video told us today the camera that captured these images was in plain sight. They moved out of the complex today saying they feared for their lives. It was a day they said couldn't come soon.
This next clip is about a different apartment complex in Denver that is being completely condemned and closed down because that also had gotten taken over. However, certain people did not want to say that the reason it was because of a gang had taken over. But now, since another apartment complex is being closed down, now they're admitting that yes, it is the gangs that are taking over the neighborhood, because you can as you know, they don't want to admit that because that would just cause fear. And you want tourists and other people to come to your city.
They claim, without evidence, that the building is actually being closed because it was taken over by a Venezuelan gang.
That building has been a problem for years.
Mountains of garbage, rats, sewage, no electricity. Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman defends the unprecedented decision by the city to close the entire apartment building at Colfax and Nome.
We've been working with this building and its owners for a very long time. I mean, they're out-of-state slumlords, and they haven't maintained the building.
The landlord from New York has hired a public relations firm out of Florida and now has several of Mayor Kaufman's fellow conservatives on Aurora City Council convinced that the real issue is not years of code violations, but a city cover-up of a takeover of the complex by a Venezuelan gang.
We have a Venezuelan gang problem that has taken over a number of our apartment complexes.
Next clip is about Tim Walz and the Black Lives Matter riot. And Vance, the Vice President Vance, was saying that he did not think that Tim Walz had called the National Guard in time because the post office got burned down. Small business owners, vandalism, their property, cars got burned down. And then the police, they were inside of the police department, and it was like I don't know, it was like thousands and thousands of rioters. They circled around the police department, and then it was burning, but the police men were actually inside of the building while it was being burned down. And the mayor, he had sent an email to the governor saying, "Hey, we need the National Guard. You know, these the rioters, they're really angry because the cop that killed George Floyd still has not been arrested."
To tell him they've lost control, can no longer maintain order in the city. The mayor gives the order to evacuate the precinct.
You had somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 officers inside the 3rd precinct. You had thousands of people outside the 3rd precinct. The doors had been busted. People were moving in. Hand-to-hand combat was definite. And the likelihood of very serious injury and death was high. Death to either one of our officers or somebody from the general public. That was not a consequence that I could have on my watch.
But first, they had to escape.
So the Vice President Vance, he was stating that Tim Walz did not get the National Guard in time. And the mayor had sent either a text or email to the governor stating that he needed the National Guard, that they needed help because the crowds were just getting too large for them to handle. But unfortunately, the Tim Walz's office either text or emailed the mayor back stating that uh, that that the paperwork wasn't filled out correctly, that I guess certain paragraphs where you had to have like resources or something like that wasn't filled out or something like that. And then I'm not sure how much time passed between that and then the mayor had emailed and text back the Tim Walz's office saying, I don't know what type of resources that I'm supposed to ask for, because he didn't know what the procedure was. So he said he couldn't fill out the paperwork correctly. And then the crowds, I mean, it was just, I think that's when the police department started being burnt. And that was all televised on TV. And then the news didn't report, but eventually Tim Walz decided that they would need the National Guard. But unfortunately, I believe it did. The National Guard. It took time for the National Guard, to get everything together. I think they arrived the next day, and the police department had that night had got burnt down, and then the National Guard arrived the next day.
No one was left behind.
So that's the big controversy right now.
Members, return to your vehicles. I'm finishing clearing the building. You have to evacuate right now. We need to go. As of right now, we can leave Stockton. We're going to lose that opportunity in about 30 seconds. We got to go where you're sitting ducks here. They're about to breach the back gate.
Then they discover the back gate's been padlocked from the outside.
They can't get the gate open.
Video posted on YouTube shows squad cars crashing through the back gate, giving cover to the officers who are escaping on foot.
We're actually intermixed with the cops on foot, trying to give them a fighting chance here. Like the precinct is on fire here. As we leave dispatch, I think you can start a roll call. Bring a couple more squads up to the front. We're going to convoy our officers safely to the new staging location, please. We're protecting firefighters. They have the scene under control, but if protesters start making their way east, we won't have enough.
And then at 10:13, Chief Arredondo, who's monitoring the scene from a couple blocks away, gets on the radio to announce defeat.
Get a citywide tone right now, and a loss of his or precinct.
Night is a mockery of pretending this is about George Floyd's death.
As the National Guard rolled into Minneapolis, President Trump urged Minnesota officials to get tougher with protesters.
They've got to be tough. They've got to be smart. We have our military ready, willing, and able, if they ever want to call our military. But we can have troops on the ground very quickly.
Talking with people on this block, a lot of folks told us they support the protest, but seeing this destruction of their community breaks their hearts. Everything is gone. If it's not broken or burnt down, it's tagged with graffiti.